What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another MonsterVerse news and updates. This is a big one because we are officially entering the Godzilla and Kong era. That's right, in this video we will be covering all of the MonsterVerse news, including the Monarch TV show and the upcoming MonsterVerse movie that came out in March 2022. I just have a feeling you guys are going to be sad when we catch up to date on news, because once I'm caught up, then I'm caught up. There's not a ton to cover month to month, and I think things will be pretty slow once I catch up, so maybe you don't want me to catch up. Also, I don't think this is possible, but you know what? I think it's good to set your goals higher than you can achieve. Sometimes it's good to just have things to strive for, even if you know you're not going to reach them. And this is my goal for this semester, my final semester in college for now. We'll see if I ever go back, but for now, I don't know why I would go back. My final semester, hopefully I can recapture even just a sprinkle of the magic that was my final semester in high school, my senior year, spring 2019. What a beautiful time period. What a beautiful time on the channel. That was the best the channel's ever been. We have never reached those heights again. I don't think we will now, but at least it'll be something to strive for, even though we all know I'm gonna disappear again. It's just homework, man. Life's way different now than it used to be. All right, let's get into it, guys. Starting out, I want to show off Mikio0001's Godzilla Kills the Male Muto. I am fairly confident I've shown off some of Mikio's art before, and I love it. I really love it. I think the art style is fantastic. He finds a way to take the chibi designs of these monsters and still make it cool, and just what a classic moment from the 2014 Godzilla movie. He did a great job with this, so big shout out to him. Next up, I'm pretty sure we talked about the Funko Soda Godzilla variant a while ago, how they had a normal one and then one with the atomic breath. I'm pretty sure we talked about that before, but Funko Soda announced a Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong with a variant potential. So the Kong was actually the gray version. The gray version of Kong, which doesn't look movie accurate, was the normal one you'd get, and then maybe if you were lucky you'd get one of the special variant brown ones, and then they had a whole bunch of other variants that they didn't reveal. Now the way these Funko Sodas work is you buy the soda can, you pop it open, and there's the Kong figure inside. It's basically a really skinny Funko Pop, and they're very special edition. I didn't get these, I didn't really have any interest in them, but to be honest with you, I would have been more interested in them if they were just straight up King Kong sodas. I would have probably been way more into that. Next up, I have talked about this before, but we have new details about it, and I also said I was going to cover these month to month as they started to release. In March 2022, Playmate's City Battle Godzilla vs. Kong set with diorama environment was released. This ran you $24.99. I have talked about it in the previous video, but I think it's really good. First of all, I love the accessories. I like the Kong comes with the heave. I like the Godzilla comes with the jet, very appropriate for the characters. I think it's really cool they're doing the diorama sets, although it's not as cool as maybe a Destruction City that Bandai would have done would be, but I do like that they're giving gimmicks like this. I think Kong and Godzilla look cool. I don't love the orange. I think it's a little silly, but you know what? They've already released Godzilla and Kong before, so why not give us something a little different? So I really appreciate it. The only thing that I'm looking at that I'm like, they had the perfect opportunity to change it and they didn't, was why didn't you paint Kong's axe a little better? Why didn't you do the gray hide on it instead of having the hide brown just like the rest of the handle? I don't know. It seems like a missed opportunity to me, but I like that they're doing that, and I'm gonna unbox it at some point, so you can maybe look forward to that if you like unboxing videos. Spiral Studios revealed their upcoming Godzilla. Now, I don't know what Godzilla this is supposed to be, Godzilla 2019 or Godzilla 2021, but if I had to guess, this looks like the 2019 Godzilla to me. His head looks a little larger than the 2021 Godzilla. Spiral Studios is, of course, on a rampage. Now, this is just their sculpt, so they're showing off what the model would be if they got it approved. I believe they did, and I believe it's coming out. It looks fantastic. What a beautiful sculpt. What a beautiful design. Michael Dougherty really elevated the 2014 Godzilla. That's kind of an unpopular thing to say on Twitter these days. Twitter's all about the 2014 design, which is good, but man, I think Dougherty brought that design from good to great, and honestly, this might be a controversial thing to say. As time goes on, I really hesitate to say it's not my favorite Godzilla design. I know, it might just be nostalgia, it might just be my personal connection to the MonsterVerse, but it's just perfect. I love it. Next up, Spiral Studios revealed their 16-inch Ghidorah in a walking pose. This is the model for it. They have released a Ghidorah before, of course, the incredible Ghidorah. They've shown off a couple different variations of him. They have the deluxe version as well with the lights, and it's incredible. It's the most coolest thing you've ever seen in your entire freaking life. life. And then they have this one with the walking pose. This looks great. I think this is going to be a lower end one for people who can't afford the $10 billion big statue version, although this is also still going to run you a couple $100, so it's still going to be incredibly expensive. This one seems to save on some shelf space, and also the pose is very different than anything we've seen on any other of these Ghidorah figures before, so way to keep it new and fresh, Spiral Studios. Way to keep doing things that other people aren't. Good for you guys. Speaking of doing things that other people aren't, Spiral Studios, again, I told you they're on a roll, revealed their Ultimate Masterline Mothra model. Oof, wow, how beautiful. They killed it with this, and I know for a fact that the finalized thing with the base looks incredible, but for now, this is all we're going to talk about, and you can just see the fur patterning going on through her wings is so cool. It is so wild. It makes her look very menacing, but at the same time, it captures that Mothra quality that we know and love. And those praying mantis claws that she has in Godzilla King of the Monsters have never looked cooler. Same with her face. She has never looked so cool before. What a masterful design. Oh, it is the Masterline series. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Maybe I did and it was subconscious. Let's move on. Legendary and Toho were slated to attend Licensing Expo Las Vegas in May, and they were going to rep their own individual sides of Godzilla. Now, I don't really know anything that happened in May of 2022, to be honest with you, but I can tell you probably nothing big comes out of that. I'm sure they had some cool booths, and that was probably about it. All right, getting into the Monarch news, there's not a ton of reveals from this month. Oh, thankfully, I'm getting tired with these. They're a lot of work. I'm not tired of them. I'm getting tired with them. See how that works? Trying to bring up the energy, guys. I'm really tired. It's after my first day of school. Filming on the Monarch series was delayed from May to June 2022. This explains why the show's filming schedule was shifted. Remember in previous videos when I kept saying they didn't quite hit that mark? This is why. Filming was originally scheduled to go from May until November, but now the current filming schedule, I believe the one that they pretty much stuck to, was from July 6th until December 19th. So you can expect a lot of updates on the Monarch series to start once we get into those months. KDM, who I just love, I think KDM's a great guy, released a whole bunch of production details. I'll run through them really quickly. There's not a ton of new info here, and the info that is here I'm not really going to break down, but I'll run you through it. States that the Monarch TV series was still going under the working title Hourglass for Safehouse Legendary and Apple TV, with executive producers Javi Harold, Tori Tennell, who I believe I kept pronouncing Troy Tennell in previous videos. I'm sorry, Tori. Matt Schwartz, Chris Black, Matt Fraction, Andy Coville, and Nick Pepper. Some of those names are new, some of them are previous. In association with Takemasa Arita and Hiro Matsuoka. They're from Toho. The production coordinator was announced as Mara Perez. Casting director was Rona Caress. Casting associate was Emma MacLop. Casting assistant was Lily Rucker. The Japanese casting director was Yoko Narahashi. That's cool to know that they got an individual casting director for the English cast and the Japanese cast. That's good. That is a good thing, because it shows that this show is giving a lot of care to that aspect of it, because if they had just casted Japanese people without knowing if they can actually act, because, oh, I don't know, maybe they couldn't understand them, that'd be an issue. So I think we're in good hands here. I think the show is going to do a lot of good stuff with that aspect of it. The key production assistant is Christopher Young III. The location manager is Trevor Metz. And of course, as we just covered, the starting and ending dates were operating under May 9th until November 16th. This was shifted, as we just talked about. Studio was Vancouver Film Studios at 3500 Courant Road in Vancouver, Canada. This guy gets specific. That's why we got to give a shout out to KDM. He gets specific. The writer was Chris Black, the creators were Chris Black and Matt Fraction, and the directors were to be announced. Again, not a lot of headlines there that I'm going to break down, but I just wanted to keep you guys updated on the production the same way that KDM was doing. And also, for those people who are working on the show, I'm sure they don't get shout outs very often, so maybe it's nice to give some exposure to the people you don't often hear about. Okay, this is the big stuff right here. We are now entering the next MonsterVerse film phase, and we don't know what it is. Still, to this day, in January 2023, we don't know what it is. They haven't told us what the title is yet. There's multiple working titles. There's Godzilla vs. Kong sequel. There's Godzilla vs. Kong 2, which is not it. That's been confirmed to be completely not it. Actually, all of these have been confirmed to be not the title of the movie, but that one in particular has been shot down because that's not the premise of the next film. There's Origins, which is the working title they're going under, kind of the same way that they went under Apex for Godzilla vs. Kong. And then there's Godzilla and Kong, which was the onset production title for production merchandise, which is also not the title of the movie, but because that's when they used for on-set production merchandise. That's what we're going to call it until they give us the real title, is Godzilla and Kong. What a bad title. We'll get there someday. Yikes. This all started when an Australian TV announcement came on for the sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong. These were done by the Sunrise News Network in Australia, and they were announcing that Legendary was preparing for a Godzilla vs. Kong sequel to be shot on Australian grounds. The Australian TV announcement specifically states that the sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong will shoot in Southeast Australia. These news announcements also confirm this to be a Kong sequel, a movie about Kong.
It's going to be another Kong sequel.
We will later talk about how Godzilla is in it, and I know some people like to say, it's a shared movie. Yeah, it is technically a shared movie, you're right. But it is supposed to be, at least according to these news reports, a movie about Kong with Godzilla. Kind of like how Godzilla vs. Kong was a movie about Kong with Godzilla. You see how that works? But yes, it is a shared movie technically. The Godzilla vs. Kong sequel was specifically going to be filming in Gold Coast, Australia, which is where Godzilla vs. Kong was shot, and we do have some additional details to go along with that. The state government-owned agency Screen Queensland announced the Godzilla vs. Kong sequel to be filmed in Queensland, Australia in late 2022. They filmed Kong Skull Island and Godzilla vs. Kong here in 2016 and 2019 respectively. Filming was estimated to boost the Queensland economy by $79.2 million and create 505 cast and crew jobs as well as 750 extra jobs. So the crew was enormous for this movie and the extras were even more enormous. We know what that was for, but I can't talk about it until a later video because I don't want to get ahead of myself. 750 extras. That's a lot of people getting good work. This article calls the film Godzilla vs. Kong 2, which started a massive explosion of a lot of people calling the movie Godzilla vs. Kong 2, even though again, the plot of the movie has nothing to do with Godzilla and Kong fighting. That's not what the movie's about. It is not going to be Godzilla vs. Kong 2. It is Godzilla vs. Kong 2. It's a Godzilla vs. Kong sequel in the same exact way that Godzilla King of the Monsters is a Kong Skull Island sequel, or Godzilla vs. Kong is a Godzilla 2014 sequel. Yeah, technically it is, sure, but it's not saying that the movie is specifically following up on the premise of the last film. Do you see how that works? It's like Thor Ragnarok is technically a sequel to Captain America Civil War, but those two movies are not related at all. That's how cinematic universes work. They get tricky. Variety posted an article breaking down this new MonsterVerse film that's going into development, and they don't have a ton to add to the conversation, but they do say that the Godzilla vs. Kong sequel will get $415.46 million worth of incentives for shooting in Australia, which is obviously why Legendary chose to shoot in Australia. But that's not to say that the budget for Godzilla and Kong would be over $415.46 million. That's just simply stating that in terms of tax breaks and incentives, that's why they're going there. They are incentivized by $415.46 million worth of whatever benefits they're getting. I don't know. That is some coming from the Australian government specifically paying for them, some for the studio, some for the tax write-offs. There's a whole bunch of different things that go into that. We also got production updates stating that the production was heading back to Queensland Village Roadshow Studios Film Studios. Wow, what a convoluted title. And they were going to shoot in Oxenford, Queensland, Australia. Is that the Gold Coast? I don't know how that works. I don't know Australian geography. I don't even know American geography. I'm American. Geography's not our strong suit. A giant evacuation scene was planned. This scene would have over 750 extras and would be filming in mid-2022. And I'm excited to talk about that when we get there because we all got to watch it happen. It was enormous. KDM shoots down the idea of Godzilla vs. Kong 2. Thank you to KDM for doing the Lord's work in terms of this stuff. Shutting down those discussions before they can even start. I appreciate it. KDM states pretty much the same thing that I just said. Just because this is a sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong does not make it Godzilla vs. Kong 2. King of the Monsters is a sequel to Kong Skull Island, not Kong Skull Island 2. Godzilla vs. Kong is a sequel to King of the Monsters, not King of the Monsters 2. Producer Eric McLeod is involved, which ensures Kong's appearance in the movie, as McLeod produced both Kong pictures for Legendary. He's the Kong guy over there. Pre-production was going on for a while before this, and production would begin soon. The film was scheduled for a little over a 5-month shoot. It's interesting that the film also shoots for like the same amount of time that the TV show does. I would think that the TV show would shoot way longer than the film, so I wonder what's up with that. Like, their production schedules are not as far off as I would anticipate. Also, one thing I am worried about is the fact that both things, the next MonsterVerse movie and the Monarch TV show, shot simultaneously. I think that they're gonna be kind of disconnected. You know the way we saw some continuity errors between King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, what with Ghidorah having an extra head all of a sudden, there's just a skull in Mechagodzilla or something, and Adam Wingard had to later come out and be like, well, that can't really be canon, can it? Because King of the Monsters didn't follow up on it like we thought they would. I'm worried that a similar thing is gonna happen here, where some things in the productions kind of bump heads and they kind of just don't notice because the projects are developing simultaneously. That's my fear. And then then finally, to end it off, we have a Deadline article teasing Adam Wingard's return for this film. In this Deadline article, they state that the Hollow Earth will be the starting point for this movie and that we will be exploring it in this film. Adam Wingard states that this is the prehistory for the planet and the origins for the Titans, and there are many mysteries to uncover, see resolved, explore, and push to the next level in this next movie. Previous teasers point to an exploration of Kong's throne room, the development of the Axis, and the Kong society that came before Godzilla vs. Kong. Alright, that'll do it for this one, guys. What do you guys think about this? Are you guys excited for the next MonsterVerse film? In particular, what do you think about both MonsterVerse projects developing simultaneously? Do you think they're pacing themselves too quickly here? Should they go one at a time, take their time a little more? Or are you happy to be getting one thing MonsterVerse a year? At least they're not like Marvel. They're still doing better than that. But how do you feel about the increased pace of the MonsterVerse moving forward? I wonder how long it'll sustain for as well. Alright, that'll do it for this one, guys. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. They really do help support the channel in a massive way. If you want to help support the channel through the Patreon, you can using the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. Alright, that's my time, guys. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.